Alright, welcome back to another episode of EU4 with Correct to Fight here. We're going to be continuing our Let's Play of Holland. Unfortunately, for this video, I did lose the audio. So this is a separate audio recording, and I'm watching the video over again, trying to review exactly what I did. So I'm doing my best here. This is better than no audio, so you still get the music and things, but I think my mic was off. So here we go. Alright, best try. Alrighty, so let's look around. What are we doing? Looking at Friesland, Jalray. Right, so our essential plan is we need to kill Jalray in Friesland. Jalray, unfortunately, in that trade league with Venice, means Venice won't join right now. I think they're embroiled in some other war. Actually, they're on our side. They can't join against us because we're on the same side as them in this war against Brittany. But unfortunately for us, everyone else will join, and Oldenburg and East Frisia pose a problem because one of them is not rivaled to Munster, which means one of them could get access to Munster, meaning they could both head through Munster into Cleef and attack us, and we don't really want two guys like that. It means higher chance of them having a good general, and they'll probably have slightly more troops than us, so we probably don't want to engage them, plus Jalray, even though we don't see where Jalray's troops are, as they, could be somewhere else, probably in a different war, which they are fighting, I believe. However, even with that advantage of us just being able to see Jalray now, I don't think we want to engage Oldenburg and East Frisia at the same time. But we do want to take Munster out at some point. They have no allies right now, even though they are friendly. They have no allies, so they look like pretty good free land. However, I think our coalition situation might be a little too dire to justify doing that. Meanwhile, war with France versus England and Brittany and everyone. I mean, we were still suffering under the blockade of England. Now we've got our ships freed. England moved their fleet somewhere. France, meanwhile, just about to stack wipe the Breton army. And Provence is besieging Maine. So we're checking on Castile. We're checking on those people who don't have heirs. Though I don't think we'll be able to do anything about it. We're smaller than Portugal, who's the other RM partner of Castile. So we won't be able to get our dynasty on their throne. Our glorious dynasty of Hard Egg, which I really love. Incredible name. France just wins another battle. Remember, we're still stuck in this war, but we're really not too involved. France is in two wars, actually. This Britain war, which they called us into, and then Burgundy declared another war on them. And so our goal with Burgundy is we have an alliance and we have an RM, but we got the alliance and the RM after they declared on France. So our hope is France will engage Burgundy. Burgundy will lose the war by more than negative 50%, and hopefully we will inherit them because we have 5 provinces that are all in the HRE. We are a member of the HRE, and we have a royal marriage with them, which gives us a 70% chance of getting the inheritance should the inheritance happen. Meanwhile, France and Aragon both don't have heirs. Interestingly enough, they are married to each other. So if France's guy dies, he gets a de Trastamara. If Aragon dies, he gets a de Valois. So interesting situation there. And Castile on top of that. Castile doesn't have an heir. So they're all sort of interdependent, but Castile's stage is actually a succession war between Aragon and France. Of course, Aragon is that top partner in that, will become the partner of Castile if there is a succession war because he's got the same dynasty. However, if he dies before France's guy dies, then he's got de Valois, so who knows how that'll change things up. Might put France at the top, who knows. Either way, I don't think France will be at the top, actually, because he's a rival, so he probably won't be anywhere on that list. Who knows what would actually happen. But yeah, it's a little irrelevant to us. We probably won't get into those big power coups, especially we're a small little Holland. We've got 5 provinces. Really nothing to write home about. A gift from Scotland. Very interesting. Definitely because I believe they're at war with England, or at least they're definitely hostile to England. They're not even allied to France, though, so that's actually good for France, because if they were allied to France, then England would probably go up there, march, stomp Scotland, and get a lot of war score for doing so, which France doesn't want. France would rather just stomp local English troops in Normandy. Alright, what are we looking at here? Jalray. Jalray is actually being subsidized by the Ottomans, interestingly enough. Though we're being subsidized by France, so I can't say too much. Disputed succession, France and Aragon still. Neither of them still have heirs. Burgundy's still losing the war. He's got his cap and local province siege down, and I don't see any of France's provinces being sieged by Burgundy. Yep, they're minus 34. Oh, and we get the decision we could declare statute of and restraint of repeals. Obviously, we don't want to do that. yet. Even if we do want to go Protestant, we don't want to anger the Pope this much. Simply because it'll make all the other Catholics angry at us and there's no Protestants for us to be friends with. We probably won't even go Protestant if France maintains being our friend. If France ever gets angry at us, we can probably just go Protestant. But it would probably hurt our relations. It might not hurt it too much. It might be a risk we're willing to pursue. So it looks like Burgundy's actually sieging down Provence here. I believe that's the entire reason they got involved with France in the war, is that they attacked Provence because they thought France wouldn't defend. France did defend, even though they were getting bogged down in that war with Brittany, which we are still in. Luckily, Brittany is at low war enthusiasm, so France could probably wipe peace now if they wanted to, but I bet France is greedier than that and probably wants to take a province, even though they haven't sieged anything down in Brittany yet. So let's see here. Lorraine is sieging down in England. All right, what are we doing? What are we doing? We got a trade fleet. It's actually nice we start out with a quite large trade fleet from the bat, off the bat. Why do I say from the bat? Makes no sense. All right, so let's look at the coalition. Looks like minus 40 all the way around. Not really ideal, but I think we can live with it. We may need to find a job for him. I don't think we're going to do anything with him, though. Too expensive, likely, even with the discount. We're already losing money slightly. So let's see here. France still winning the war. So Aragon got a 13-year-old heir, somehow, and France got a 0-year-old heir. But either way, they've both gotten heirs, so they're off the market, and means Castile's situation of being PU'd by Aragon if his heir dies, if his king dies, sorry, and then having a succession war with France is still on the plate. Hopefully we wouldn't get called to that succession war, since it would be an aggressive war from France, and they've called us to this defensive war, so they probably owe us favors. Nobility's demanding land. We can't give them Cleef, I don't believe. I think we're going to check, but I don't think we can give them Cleef. It doesn't give them enough influence to be satisfied. They need 15%. So we're thinking about Breda, Cleef, or Utrecht. We don't really want to give them Zeeland. We can't give them Holland. So if we were to give it to the nobility, they'd only get 13.7. They need at least 15. Can't give them Cleef. However, we could give them Breda or Utrecht at this point. It seems like we're looking at the prosperity. Yep, prosperity is definitely taking up. We've almost got a prosperous state in Brabant, in Breda specifically, which is nice. Because we're at +1 stability. So a new thing you sort of have to realize is that, you know, when I started the game, you didn't have to sit around at +1 stability. 0 was fine. But with the introduction of prosperity and devastation, being at +1 is the new 0, because it gets you that prosperity ticking up in your states, which is really helpful. And it will tick up even faster for us, because it is much more likely to tick up faster for us because we've got a ruler with good stats. So all those percentages to tick up from military, admin, and dip are high. Alright, Burgundy's losing the war by 53% now, or minus 53%. Provence is sieging down Cambrai. We've got rebels in Utrecht. Okay, we can engage them though. It won't be fun. We'll be on the same terrain. They won't have a river crossing or anything. We can give the burghers Zeeland for +2 development there. We'll just have to remember to revoke it in about a year, or maybe don't revoke it. Let's see here. What are we going to do now? So yeah, we've given it to the burghers. We're waiting on those rebs. They're at 80% right now in Utrecht. We won't really have an advantage against them. They won't be attacking into us on, you know, unfair terrain for them. We'll just have to hope and pray that our general and our troops are better. However, we can build 2 troops. Which we will do. Hopefully those will be finished before. Oh, and Scotland, who had just sent a gift to us maybe a year ago, and France pieces out. Okay, lots of things happening. So Scotland has rivaled us instead of giving us a gift. Great, who cares? France is piecing out members of this Breton thing. They just pieced out their second war, which was with Burgundy. They took Bourgogne and Charleroi. I can't do French. Unfortunately, that means we didn't get the inheritance, so we got to break that alliance, because we don't want Burgundy either going berserk on someone, or someone going berserk on Burgundy, like England, for example. So we want to keep our RM though. So our new strategy now is we've got to go to war with Burgundy, right? At some point. Now we have to do this ideally before 1490 gives us a good window of about 10 years to get the war done. But ideally we want to go to war as soon as we can. So basically, once the French truce is up, we want to call France into a war against Burgundy. And hopefully Burgundy won't cancel the RM. If they cancel the RM, there's no point to the war, right? We'll just take maybe Antwerp because it's a trade province, you know, with a bonus to trade for our node. And then piece them out or whatever, right? And give France, you know, one more province or whatever. Maybe an HRE province to get France antagonized by the HRE. So we're going to take Diplo ideas. Pretty basic HRE idea pick. You definitely want a diplomatic idea, especially with the amount of AE we've got. And influence doesn't really help us too much since we're not going to be playing a vassal game while in the HRE. So diplomatic, definitely take the first idea there since we're 30% ahead of time in Diplotech. I think then our plan is to take Diplotech as soon as we can. No, actually, we'll take a second idea and then we'll take Diplotech again, if I remember correctly. So Ireland's an interesting situation, just taking a glance. Leinster is independent but allied to England. Tyrone will be annexed by England, they are a vassal. And Ulster's independent. But anyway, we've got to consolidate our troops. 80% rebels, so we got to be prepared. France has got broken walls in both Calais and Normandy. Excellent for them in that war. However, they do have noble rebels in the south, which they will probably want to deal with. Hopefully they're smart enough to finish those sieges, because otherwise we're just going to be stuck in this war. It's at -4%, so at least there won't be the war exhaustion. I can't remember what the name of it is. Desire for peace, that's what it is. That gives you ticking, increasing war exhaustion. Oh, great, we got naive appeaser. That's pretty bad for us. That's going to definitely decrease the decay of AE, but once we get our 4th diplomatic idea, that should cancel it out roughly, and actually give us +5% decay. So, not great, not terrible. I mean, it's pretty bad, but once our king dies, it goes away, but our diplomatic bonuses stay, so. It's only a temporary setback. Alright, Normandy's siege is finished. France looks to be heading south. So we're looking at declaring war on Burgundy just to see what that looks like. They've allied Bremen as their new ally instead of us, which is perfectly fine for us. We got to keep the RM though. Burgundy hopefully doesn't want to break RMs. I think the AI is pretty resistant to doing that unless you turn out to be hostile and everything. The problem I have is we're going to be declaring war on them, so I don't know if the AI counts that as hostile enough. That's the only bit. Because if they do break the RM, then we're kind of screwed. What we could do in that case, though, is try to become elected emperor. So that could be a strategy in the future. We try to ally some electors, become emperor, then declare on Burgundy. We'd have to look at how old Austria's king is, but if their king dies relatively soon, then we immediately declare that war on Burgundy, call in France. Maybe we can get the inheritance, because there'll be no RM partner at that point, since Bremen doesn't have 4 provinces pretty clearly, and doesn't have an RM with them since he's a republic, a free city. So that would mean the split would be between us. I believe it would be Emperor 70%, Castile 30% chance to inherit, since there's no RM partner. We just rolled an excellent general there, a 3-1-1-1. Gives us a little maneuver. Of course, I'd love him to be a 1-3-1-1, but still, pretty happy. We do have a siege on him as well. Gelre just got sieged down by Hungary, so Austria and Hungary are at war with Gelre since they're attacking into Venice. Gelre was part of that trade league. They just pieced Gelre out. His 4k are back. We can gain that 2 papal influence. Does hurt our effort against the Protestant forming, but, you know, what can we do? And it looks like France is focused the siege down to just Brittany, and has sieged a third of the country down in like 2 months. Excellent, since there's no fort there. So France will just be sitting on sieging, and he'll hopefully piece us out. Looks like Brunswick will not defend Friesland. Brunswick will not defend Friesland, so that's actually excellent for us. That was the only major problem in that war against Friesland, so it looks like we're going to go after Friesland. Now, we just got military access from Munster. However, I think we realize this is a mistake, because Oldenburg is going to be in the war against us, so Oldenburg can use that military access as well. And Oldenburg is actually rival to Munster, so Oldenburg wouldn't be able to get the military access on his own, so why should we give it to him for free? Now, we did want to get this access because we can't get access through Gelre, they hate us. We wanted to get access through Munster, simply because it would avoid the crossing we'd have to take from Holland into Friesland. However, it does get us more enemy troops, so I think we would rather take the crossing and have far fewer enemy troops, as opposed to not taking the crossing and dealing with more people, especially before we even get to Friesland, because Oldenburg can probably reach us almost immediately in that battle. That would probably be 14 or 15k if he has roughly the size army of Friesland himself. So as we can see here, we look at Friesland is rival to, Oldenburg is rival to Munster, Munster is rival to Oldenburg. All is well when we declare war and just run across the strait. Wait for the end of the month tick. Go and declare that conquest war. Mecklenburg and Oldenburg. Mecklenburg's too far away to really understand that military access exists. Of course, we have to kill that one Friesland ship in order to maintain sovereignty over the crossing. Absolutely demolish their troops. Brittany pieced out, so now we're not in that war with France, which really sort of sucks because We were hoping we could declare this war before their war would finish, so that we wouldn't have to take the unlawful territory penalty, but it looks like we'll have to suck up and take the unlawful territory penalty. We might be breaching the limit with AE here, but we can definitely sit on this war for a couple years and allow that AE to tick down as we prepare to take the same amount of AE from just piecing it out. So we're going to prepare a siege stack of 4K, infantry, keep our siege leader, our 3111. We are capped at military points, so we should hopefully take care of that relatively soon. We might not, which would be a waste. Let's see here, we've got a cog, yep. Merge our ships, take all the cogs. Looks like our frigates or whatever, or what am I saying, our barks actually captured, it seems like another bark, and they captured a cog. So that's pretty good for us. Unfortunately, we need all the brigs and the cogs, or we don't need the cogs, we just need all the brigs. Our trade fleet, unfortunately, to be able to blockade Friesland, which is a little unfortunate for us, but not the end of the world. Friesland is at negative 28%. So let's see here, we're just going to siege him down for the moment. We've got rebels who could pop at 90% in Utrecht. Unfortunately, we can't really send those 6K into Utrecht since they'll probably just die to the rebels, which we really don't want. It's really not a terrible scenario though, because the fort in Holland will have influence over Utrecht, so as long as we attack them in Holland, we should be okay. They'll take a -1 penalty if we attack in Holland. Actually, they won't, because we'll get a river crossing, so -1 for us, but they'll get -1 as well, so it really cancels out. So everything should be fine. If they do pop, we have a fort of influence, so hopefully we'll get lucky and they won't. We've got breached walls already in 7%, which is excellent. So Baden has no air, Castile has no air, so we won't really be going after them, I don't think. Let's take a look at the Holy Roman Empire. Definitely Austria, very popular for re-election. We are not so much, so our plot to get emperorship is probably not coming along too well. We would have to focus down those electors and definitely not anger them, and also not take too much AE, but that's alright. I mean, Trier is sort of working on killing Cologne, the other elector, so if that happens, an elector slot will be popped open, and it won't matter what our opinion of Cologne was. So we'll definitely get a huge coalition if we keep this up, which means we will have to not. We'll have to wait a bunch of months, kick that AE down, get the Improved Relations guy back on. We needed the Diplo Rep guy so we could get the RM in alliance with Burgundy. Now that we don't need that anymore, all we need to do is make sure we grab the... oh my goodness, what am I saying? We need to grab the guy who lowers our AE. It's definitely the right choice. Alright, wiped Oldenburg's army. He only had 3K left. So we did overestimate his forces a little bit, but I think it was still the right decision to just cross from Holland into Friesland. We're going to siege him down, get reps. Actually, we were going to get reps, but I think we end up deciding we need a little more prestige. We've got a mission that gets us 100 admin if we get 50 prestige. We're at 10 right now. So I think we're going to do all the new interaction, relatively new, of canceling rivals. Because once we do that, then we're basically going to get a decent amount of prestige for each rival we cancel, so we can cancel 3 of them, they have 30% war scar, and then take war reps after that. We'll have to wait a couple months after we siege him down, though, because he'll be at 99 and won't accept a 100 deal. Kind of stupid, but it's okay. Manageable. We're at 21% with walls broken. I'd like to move more of those troops out so we don't take attrition, but I really can't because there's a risk that somehow East Frisia will take over the siege. Luckily, we just won the siege, so it doesn't really matter. So we can go and piece Oldenburg out. We won't be able to separate piece Mecklenburg. I just don't think we want to get all the military accesses. And he might have a couple more troops than us or whatever if he's built up from a previous war. We just don't want to deal with it. Too many casualties when we have 90% rebels sitting in Utrecht right now. We're still fine if they pop because Fort in Holland is still up, but we just don't want to take the risk just to piece out another guy. We have plenty of war score once we piece out Oldenburg to be able to annex Friesland. We'll just need to wait on the war score. We wait on the AE ticking down, which will give us extra war score to convince him if he wasn't. Unfortunately, we're looking at 146 to negative 146, which means he won't accept. So we're going to wait a month or two, let that war score tick up a little bit. Maybe let that war exhaustion tick up a little bit. Convince him a little more that he really ought to surrender, cancel all his rivals, and give us some money. There we go. He's willing to accept 3 cancel rivals. And we also got war reps from them, which probably won't be that much money, but still something for 10 years. Alright, we are black flagged. We're exiled, so we can march right back to Utrecht. Guard, try to keep those rebels from popping. Even if they do pop, we have 2k more than them, or 2.6k more than them. Sorry, 1.6k more than them. But we should be fine, definitely, if they pop. Yep, we've made it to Utrecht. They haven't popped. Our truce with Lucca ended. Oh no. So we can take docks, or we can take an idea at this point. We did manage to get rid of that surplus of military points. We got that general, and we bought military tech. Even if it was a little at plus 5%, still fine. So let's see here. We gotta make a decision. Do we want tech? Do we want ideas? Tech looks pretty good. Ideas look pretty good as well. Of course, we gotta check, you know, the RM situation. Do we want to lose 20 legitimacy? We're fine with that. We were already at 23. Going down to 3 doesn't make a huge difference. Makes a difference, but doesn't make a huge difference. Definitely better than losing a stab. Even though we could pay back for the stab, we don't want to. Especially if our king dies soon, then we'll start at 50 legitimacy, so we'll be okay. So let's see, what shall we do? What shall we do? Check those successions. Alright, let's make a decision. Do we want Diplotech? Do we want Diplo idea? I mean, Diplotech is at a discount, though it's not really a necessary Diplotech. Nobody really cares. It's not going to make a big difference for us. Mostly just about the Navy. Our Navy is decently strong already, so we don't need buffs or anything. And we're also not a large enough Navy to need a bunch of buildings to take care of it. So we're still looking here. We could take money. We could annex him. So we try to annex him, take all his money. Only 47% war score, which is pretty good. Still won't accept it, though, at minus 13. So we'll have to wait till he accepts it before we can even deal with the AE. Once he's willing to accept it, though, then we can start looking at the AE situation, see how it sticks down. But while we wait for him to accept it just because of war score ticking up and his war exhaustion ticking down, we should be alright. So Liège also has a truce with us, which means we can declare humiliation war later on if we want to. Alrighty, so Brabant at 20%, Clevian at 70%, Utrecht at 40%. So let's see here, auto-saving again. Yep, so East Frisia is actually at a war with Friesland, so we obviously can't vassalize Friesland because we'll get dragged into that war. I mean, we could, but just vassalizing will be a little less AE, but if we wanted to actually eat East Frisia or something, that would be too much AE, so we couldn't do that. Still a coalition, but all those minus 52s within the end of 2 years should all be gone. But with that plus 20%, I'm actually inclined to believe that they'll all be gone in 1 year, hopefully. If it ticks down by minus 3, then they'll all be gone. If it ticks down only by minus 2, they'll all be at minus 50, so we'll need another year. But either way, it'll be alright. But we are concerned about, like, Trier, the Palatinate, Mainz, those people who are at minus 54. It'll take either longer for them to tick down, or we just need to start sending people to improve relations, which is what I think we ought to do. Also, Hesse, Frankfurt, Cologne. Friesland doesn't matter. He's at minus 61, but it doesn't matter because he won't exist, so... Who really cares? Yep, let's improve with the Palatinate. Also happens to be an elector. Trier also happens to be an elector. Unfortunately, you don't really want them angry at you, but what can we do? Looks like I'm seeing to my right-hand side, looks like Hungary's done well against Bohemia, taken Brno and Gromuk. I can't really see it from here. But it looks like Bohemia is also in another war. I saw that they had taken 2 provinces from Saxony, and then Austria earlier, a couple episodes, maybe an episode ago, Austria declared an intervention war and took both those provinces back for Saxony, it seems. So what else is going on? We're making money at 130. We're taking care of business. Alright, let's send to protect those trades. Protecting the trade. In Lubeck or English Channel, looks like Lubeck is a better deal now, that it's not going to be blockaded by the English or anything. We've got 95.72 of a spy network in Munster. Looks pretty good. Probably get to 100, and then we need to fabricate a claim on Osnabrück once we actually annex Friesland. That's the only reason why we actually have the spy network right now, and we're too lazy to change it. We'll take 10 Diplo power for free. We don't really want a chance of having the Pope hating us, absolutely. If we maybe want to stay Catholic later on, who knows. So we just took the idea over this, because in 2 months we'll be able to take the tech, so it really doesn't make too big of a difference. We do get minus 1 Diplo rep for, I can't remember if it's 10 or 20 years. Looks like we get 100. Excellent. We can pull him back. And it'll tick down by -1 or -2 a month or whatever. But we'll be fine, because as long as it stays above 30 or 35, we'll be okay. So, looks like the coalition's mostly gone. Unfortunately, 4 members means they could still form one consisting of Gelre, Frankfurt, Cologne, and the other person I can't remember. But that's alright. We can manage. We can manage. Alright, so let's go improve with Cologne. Yep, Frankfurt, Hesse. Hesse is the other one. So Frankfurt, Hesse, Cologne. We want to get rid of those guys. Obviously, we can just wait till the end of the year. It'll definitely tick down, knock them out. But we can, of course, always improve relations with them. You know, Cologne is an elector. We have to treat him a little bit better. Or maybe just annex him and get rid of his electorship. So we can take docks now. We've waited that 2 months or 3 months to take up that power, the dip power. Looks like we've got Clevian separatists at 80%. It does not look so good for us. But that should be alright. Clevian separatists, I don't feel like they're going to be too strong. Hopefully they'll be rather weak. Alright, Brittany at 49 years. Castile at 43. Not sure we want to get a PU on Brittany of all people, but Castile still has a king with no heir. So we could see that succession war. I don't think we will. So Hesse actually took, I just saw Hesse took Brunswick's capital, and like 3 months later, like a month later, was forced to give it back to Brunswick. Interesting. Damn them. -5% morale of armies for 2 years, I believe. It's really a pretty bad event for us, but luckily we're not going to go to war with anybody soon, so as long as we stay out of wars for 5 years, which we should be able to do since our AE is so high, I think we should be okay. That event's really not too bad for us, unless we get attacked. But we have France as an ally, so we should be okay. So it looks like Gelre is going to be the only one who could join a coalition, except he can't, since you need at least 3 people who are going to join. And I actually figured out that we have a truce with Hesse, so we can actually do this without getting a coalition. Since Hesse can't join and Friesland can't join, means only, if you have 3 people, they can't join. You have to have at least 4. So it means only 3 people could join a coalition, but they actually can't, since you need 4 for the AI to create a coalition. So let's see here, at least 3 rivals. We need another 2. We can take Scotland. Scotland's rivaled us, right? We can take Scotland. We could take Munster. Yeah, let's take Munster since we're going to go after them anyway. We're going to fabricate on Osnabrück anyway. Unfortunately, things look pretty red in the upper left-hand corner. We've got that rebellion stack at 80%. We also have a civil war coming along. Of course, Austria demanding, no thank you. Now, that civil war is a little concerning, so let's take a look at it. It's +1 every month because we have a legitimacy of less than 75. Well, we can't do anything about that. But it's only ticking up because we have at least 10% overextension. So once we core Friesland, that'll stop moving along. I noticed that Cleef is unfortunately a core of Cologne, which means the separatists can pop into Cleef. If they do, we'll probably have to kill them, even though it feels bad to kill someone else's rebels. It's better than dealing with all the penalties associated with them actually sieging the province down, since it's probably not in the control of our fort in Holland. It's too far away in terms of provinces. So let's see here. Brittany has no heir. Very interesting. Ooh, Iberian wedding. And we have a cardinal in Zealand. That means we can sort of get into the papal game now. Florence took 2 provinces from the Pope, but Aragon is now in a PU, which means we lost our alliance with them and our royal marriage with them. So we'll have to sort of deal with that now. Maybe get a new ally. Maybe get some electors as allies. Yep, and they entered Cleef, of course, because we're always unlucky. The only other province they really would have entered would have been Westphalen, so sort of lost a 50-50, but that's okay. We will take the -5 prestige over losing a decent amount of money and other things. Not great, but not terrible either. It does get us a little farther away from our goal. But we don't want to lose that admin points. So, we're a pretty stable situation. Looks like Albania is actually independent for now until the Ottomans eat them up again. This disaster should go away once we're just about to reach 50% on our core construction. So once we do that, we'll be halfway to getting rid of this disaster for now. The only other solution is really going to have our king die, and then our other guy who's going to start at like 50 or 60 legitimacy. I can't remember actually exactly where average claims starts you off. I feel like 50. Hopefully it's not 50, but it probably is. We just need to get to 75. We can always strengthen government to get there, but I don't really feel good paying those military power points to get there, but that might be good to prevent civil war so we can actually continue to expand. It might be worth it to spend maybe 200 military points, raise it by 20, let it tick up to 75. So Gelre's mad, but they're the only one who's mad. They're actually allied to Burgundy, although unfortunately if we declare on them, only East Frisia will defend. Burgundy's too deep in debt, and France won't even join us in that war as an offensive war. So we really want to drag Burgundy into a war with us. That's the real trick here. So that we can have an RM with them if they don't cancel the RM. The theory that I have maybe is if they get out of their debt, and France gets out of their debt, so they should get out of debt roughly the same time maybe, then hopefully if we declare on Gelre, calls Burgundy in, we don't need Burgundy to be a co-belligerent, doesn't really matter, they just need to be in a war, losing the war. So if we go and target Burgundy down, then maybe Burgundy will think, ah, well, they're not in a direct war with me, they didn't attack me